Okay, which capacitor next? Let's do... No, there's no hard ones left anymore. Let's go after this guy up here. 0.01. Another 0.01. I can fit one of these really tiny ones in here. I just shorten up the the existing wire insulation, wire covering. Pretty cold up here today. Bit of snow on the ground. That's the thing about working in a cold climate. In the winter, you kind of feel nice indoors. Kind of like, snug in nice and snug and warm and all that stuff. So for those of you in the world who are watching me who live in hot climates and you wonder why in heaven's name would anybody ever want to live in a cold climate like Canada. Canada is definitely not the coldest place on the planet either. There are some other countries with much colder conditions in them. And the answer is kind of surprising, and I kind of learned this from spending time with people from tropical countries. And one of the answers is the long evenings in the summer. Because you're far from the equator, the angle of the sun on the earth results in daylight extending into the evening. And I never really thought about this, but I guess if you live near the equator, darkness comes at 6 o'clock at night, and it stays dark till 6 in the morning, and it's just 6 to 6, 6 to 6 every day. It never changes. And, when you're living closer to the ends of the earth, the top or the bottom, you get these seasonal variations in the length of the of daylight. And I know the people who came from a South American country, they had never experienced it before, and were kind of taken aback by, being outside at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night in the summer, and it's still essentially light out. The clearances around here aren't the best. So that's one reason for living in a northern climate. You get these long summer nights. Of course, in the winter, it gets dark pretty early. It gets dark around 4:30, 5 o'clock here. But then again, it's cold, so you're indoors, and you're in, of course, indoor lighting and playing with your TV and your computers and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter so much. Okay, who's next on this list? Okay, we'll go after that guy. He looks pretty easy. And I'm going to guess, hey, that's another 0.01. Let's see. No, 0.005. So much for my guessing. Yeah, that's a 0.01 compared to a 0.05. 0.005. Okay, 0.005. It's really 0.0047 I'm going to put in there. And of course, another reason for living in northern environments, northern climates, is winter sports. There's a lot of winter sports, and they are a lot of fun. So even though you might hole up in your house in the winter, you're not entirely holding up. So people love to ski and do all that kind of stuff. And you're only going to do that in a cold climate. So that's why, and the last one, of course, is, I was born here. That's probably the biggest reason why I'm here, and maybe the biggest reason why you're there, wherever there is. And who is watching me? I've noticed on studying my the analytical information I get from YouTube, it stuns me, but people all over the world. You could be anywhere in the world. I don't know where you are. You're most likely in the United States, Canada, or Britain, if you're watching me. And Sweden's pretty popular too. The interesting thing about that is my background is actually Swedish, and I wonder if it's my name, because my name has a Swedish ring to it. Also has a Greek sound to it. A lot of people think I'm Greek because of my last name. But I kind of wonder why, how are people in Sweden finding me? So it's pretty cool, and I should say too, I'm going to have to do something about, this whole thing's gotten a lot bigger than I expected in my YouTube videos. I never anticipated any of this really happening. Just going along here. So I have almost, I think I've got 175 subscribers, so that floors me. Okay, that one's in. Let's go after this one next. .05. Wax left on these wires from that wax capacitor, leaking its wax. Trying to get some of it off. Ooh, that's a long ways to go. I don't know if this one can make it. Oh, wow, that's just about as, I don't know. That's not going to make it. 0.05. There we are. This one has long leads, so these are really good capacitors. That's a big factor I didn't think of when I made my last capacitor order. So I have a lot of capacitors now with very short leads, which I think I've mentioned a few times. Oops. Now I've started using my older pliers here because they have a grip on them. These pliers that I use for picking up and twisting things, they have no grip inside. They're flat, and that's why you often see me struggling to try to pinch wires closed. But with this pair of pliers, things don't slip so much. So I decided to smarten up and use my other pliers. I kind of think of them as the clumsy ones, you know, and I don't like to think of myself as clumsy, so I'm attracted to using them. Using these. Overusing these. Delicate ones. I'm just trying to scrape off more of that wax because there's quite a bit on there. Yeah, now these leads are stiffer than the other lower cost capacitors that I bought. And that's just because there's more to them. They're more substantial. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look so good. Okay. Now, is this going to make this radio work? Hey, is that all the paper capacitors? All except for this big one down here. And what about this? This very large one here. Let's give it a quick check on the ohm meter. Let's check it properly. I can see it charging up there. So again, it's not short. It looks pretty new. Okay. Well, there's what we took out. I'm not terribly hopeful that this has made this radio workable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set it up to test, and we'll see what happens.